Hello dear friends, welcome back to MACSGATE. In this session, let us see the installation process of Python and Visual Studio Code. We also learn about Python implementations and distributions and IDEs used for Python programming. First of all, what do you mean by Python implementation? Python implementation is a program that understands the Python language and execute the code. So this implementation includes the interpreter and the core libraries. The default implementation of Python is called Cpython and it is available from python.org. And this default implementation, that is Cpython, was written in C programming language. And Cpython is the reference implementation of Python language. See, when I say it is the reference implementation, it means there are other implementations of Python. The other implementations of Python are Jython, which is implementation of Python in Java. That is Python written in Java. And it is available from Jython.org. We have IronPython, which is implementation of Python in C#. It is available from ironpython.net. We also have this PyPy, which is implementation of Python in the subset of Python language itself. And that subset is called RPython or restricted Python. And it is available from pypy.org. See, in addition to these implementations, there are several other implementations of Python which are available. For example, MicroPython, which is a small and lightweight implementation of Python that is designed for embedded systems. See, the main difference between these implementations is the way they are written and how they interact with the underlying operating system. See, when you are having this many implementations, the question is which implementation to be used. Of course, it depends on the project requirements, the performance considerations, platform compatibility, and the libraries required for your project, and etc. In this course, we use Cpython implementation because Cpython implementation is the default implementation, and any feature which is added to Python is first supported by Cpython and gradually come to the other implementations later on. And Cpython implementation is the default implementation. So we are using Cpython implementation for this particular course. Now let us talk about Python installation process. First of all, let us check whether Python is already installed in our system or not. Now open command prompt, type Python space --version. Python was not found, means Python is not installed in our system. So let us download and install Python. See, the default Python installation, which is called Cpython installation, is available from python.org. See, this Cpython installation comes with Python interpreter, Python IDLE, which is integrated development and learning environment, and package installer programs. Because it comes as a software bundle, we call it as Cpython distribution. So before starting with the installation, let us understand about this Python distribution. See, a Python distribution is a software bundle which contains Python interpreter, Python standard library, a set of third-party packages, and package installer programs. And Python distribution can also include IDEs, that is integrated development environments. And Cpython distribution is one of the Python distribution, and it is based on Cpython implementation. There are multiple Python distributions available which are based on Cpython implementation. Out of that, Anaconda distribution is famous distribution. And this Anaconda distribution is most recommended distribution because it comes preloaded with many packages and libraries. There are other distributions like Miniconda, Python, XY, WinPython and ActivePython. Okay, but for our course we are using Cpython distribution. Now let us get started with the Python installation process. So open python.org to download this Cpython distribution. Now in the browser type python.org, which is the official Python website. Now under downloads, we can find the latest version of Python. The current version of Python is 3.12.2. Suppose you are watching this video later, there is a chance that you may find a newer version of Python. But don't worry, the material in the course continue to work with all the future versions of Python. And one more important thing, suppose you are working on a different operating system other than Windows, like Linux, Mac or any other operating system, select the platform from here like Linux, Mac or any other operating system and download the desired version. Okay, because I am using Windows, so I am downloading the latest version of Python for Windows. Now once the download is completed, run the installer file to begin the installation. Make sure that all the checkboxes are checked, especially add python.exe to path and click on install now. See, the Cpython distribution comes with Python interpreter, IDLE, standard library and package installers. Wait for the installation to finish. So setup was successful. Suppose you are new to Python, then you can start with the online tutorial and documentation. You can click on this and directly you can start with the Python tutorials available from docs.python.org. You can also verify the documentation which is available in the same docs.python.org and you can explore this documentation section. Now first of all, let us verify whether Python is successfully installed in our system or not. Open the command prompt and type Python space --version. So we successfully installed Python 3.12.2 version in our system. Now before starting with using Python interpreter, let us understand in what modes Python interpreter can work. Now let us see how to use Python interpreter. Python programs are executed by Python interpreter and there are two ways to use Python interpreter. The first one is interactive mode and the second one is script mode. In the interactive mode, you can interact with Python code in real time. You can enter one line or a small block of code at a time in the Python shell and you can see the result immediately. For example, if you want to find sum of two numbers like 2 plus 2, you can immediately see the result. Whereas in script mode, you write the code in a text editor or an IDE, save it with proper extension like .py extension and then run the file using Python interpreter. So in Python, we can run individual commands using interactive mode and you can run the entire program using script mode. And there are many different environments in which Python interpreter might run. Like it can run in a terminal window or an IDE or even a browser. Let us see how Python interpreter runs in a terminal window. Now open command prompt and type Python or simply Py to start Python interpreter in interactive mode. See, the environment which we see is called Python shell or Python command line interface or Python REPL, read, eval, print loop. See, this displays a copyright message and present the user with Python prompt. The three greater than symbols which you are seeing is what is known as Python prompt. See, certain environments, it may display different Python prompt, but don't worry about it. We can write the individual commands and get output immediately. We can use this interactive mode as a calculator. You can find sum of two numbers. You can find difference of two numbers. You can find product of two numbers, etc. To exit, you can write exit followed by open close parenthesis or quit open close parenthesis or Control Z. See, we can also write Python programs in a script file and execute it from command line. So here I saved this first.txt file. Now I save this file with .py extension. Okay, so let me save this with .py extension. Now here you can write your Python code. So let us write the hello world program. So we can use the built-in function print and within the parenthesis write hello world. See, here we can use double quotes or we can use single quotes. Or we can also use triple quotes. See, triple quotes are generally used to extend this, code in multiple lines. Suppose you want to write this code in multiple lines. We can use triple quotes. Now save the file. Let us run the program. Python. The name of the file is first.py. Because we return that print statement 3 times, we should get the output 3 times. Hello world, and hello world. So this is how we can use Python interpreter in the interactive mode and in the script mode. That is, we can run individual commands or we can run the entire program. Now let us explore IDLE. In the start menu, under programs, you can find IDLE Python 3.12. Click on this to open Python's IDLE, that is Integrated Development and Learning Environment. It is a simple IDE that is included with default Python installation. And this IDLE is designed in such a way that it is easy to use for beginners and it has several features to help them learn Python. See, under this help menu, you can find IDLE documentation. So here you can see this IDLE is Python's Integrated Development and Learning Environment. It has the following features. Cross-platform. It works mostly the same on Windows, Unix and Mac operating system. The Python shell window, that is interactive interpreter with colorizing of code input, output and error messages. It is having multi-window text editor option with multiple undo, Python colorizing, smart indent, call tips, auto completion and other features. Search within any window, replace within editor windows and search through multiple files. It is also having debuggers, configuration, browsers and other dialogues. See, these are all different features it offers. Under TOC, you can find all the features and you can explore these features. Whatever feature you want, you can explore that particular feature here. What I want you to mainly understand is IDLE has two main windows, the shell window and the editor window. That is, you can work in the interactive mode. Using this editor window, you can also work with Python in script mode. And it is possible to have multiple editor windows simultaneously. That is, you can run multiple Python files at a time. Okay. So this is what I want you to mainly understand. That is, IDLE has two main window types. The shell window to work in interactive mode and the editor window to work Python in script mode. So here you can see the Python shell where you can write the command and you can immediately see the output. You can actually use it as a calculator. You can find sum of two numbers. You can find product of two numbers. So you can use it as calculator. So this is what we call it as shell window. You can also open the editor window. Under file, you can open this new file. So here you can write your Python program. For example, I write simple print statement here, print. And if you see here, it is giving the syntax of this built-in print function. So it helps you in writing the code. It also helps you in indentation, auto completion of code, later on for debugging and other options also. So here, of course, we'll explore all these built-in functions later on. Here I am just writing a simple program to understand this editor window and how Python works in script mode. So you can simply write hello world, or you can write any other statement, sir. Because it is the first program, I'm just writing hello world. Right? Now you have to save this file. Okay. So here under programs, I'll just save this file like first.py. So the file is saved and you can run this. And here in the shell, you can see the output, hello world. So with IDLE, you can work both in interactive mode using Python shell or script mode using the editor window. If you want, you can open multiple files. So you can open multiple files. Okay. So we can have multi editor windows to open multiple Python files and you can run all of them. Okay. So this is about IDLE, my dear friends. Running Python. As mentioned earlier, there are many different environments in which the Python interpreter might run. A terminal window, an IDE or a browser. See, we already know how to run Python in interactive mode as well as script mode using command prompt, that is terminal window, and IDLE, that is integrated development and learning environment. See, IDLE is a simple IDE that is included with the default Python installation. Actually, we can also use other IDEs to run Python. IDE means integrated development environment. See, an IDE is a software application that provides a graphical user interface for writing, running, debugging and testing code. See, IDEs typically include a code editor, a debugger, a compiler or interpreter and project manager. See, these IDEs provide several features like code coloring, auto completion of the code, auto indentation. They help you in writing the code, in correcting the code, that is correcting the errors in the code. So these IDEs provide many features to make our life simple. The popular Python IDEs which we can use are Spider, PyCharm, Visual Studio Code. Actually, Visual Studio Code is a text editor, but by installing extensions, we can convert Visual Studio Code into a powerful IDE. So, we will discuss more about Visual Studio Code and its installation. Online Python editors. See, Python interpreter can also run on a web browser. Online Python editors such as Jupyter Notebook and Google Colab allows you to run Python code in a web browser. Here, Jupyter Notebook is an open source web application that allows you to create and share documents that combine code, data, visualizations, and explanatory text in an interactive and collaborative environment. The Google Collaboratory is a cloud-based platform provided by Google that offers free access to a Jupyter Notebook environment with integrated Python support. Now, one important point to be noted here, Visual Studio Code support working with Jupyter Notebook natively in your system, that is without using the browser. So that is important point to be noted. So finally, what are the different environments in which Python interpreter runs? A terminal window, an IDE, or a browser. See, running Python in a terminal or command prompt is the most basic way to interact with the Python interpreter. IDEs like Visual Studio Code, Spider, PyCharm, and IDLE provide a more comprehensive set of features for Python development such as code editing, compilation, debugging, and project management. The online Python editors such as Jupyter Notebook and Google Colab allows you to run Python code in a web browser. Now for this course, we are going to use Visual Studio Code. The advantage of using Visual Studio Code is that it combines all these development environments into a single platform. What does it mean? You can switch between the tasks and tools very easily without having to open and close different applications. So because of that, we are going to use Visual Studio Code for this particular course. Visual Studio Code. Visual Studio Code is also commonly referred as VS Code, and it is a source code editor developed by Microsoft for Windows, Linux, and Mac operating systems. VS Code features include support for debugging, syntax highlighting, intelligent code completion, snippets, code refactoring, and embedded Git. In VS Code, users can change the theme, keyboard shortcuts, preferences, and very importantly, install extensions that add functionality. See, VS Code can be used with variety of programming languages including C, C hash, C++, Fortran, Go, Java, JavaScript, Node.js, and of course Python, Rust, and Julia. By installing extensions, the VS Code, that is the source code editor, can be converted to a powerful IDE. So we'll see how to install VS Code and what extensions to be installed so that VS Code can be converted to a powerful Python IDE. As I mentioned earlier, the advantage of VS Code is that it combines all the different environments into a single place. So we can use VS Code as a terminal window so that we can run Python in interactive mode. We can use VS Code as a code editor so that we can run Python in script mode. We can also use VS Code as a browser. As mentioned earlier, like VS Code supports working with Jupyter Notebook natively. So you don't have to open the browser to run your Jupyter notebook. In the VS Code itself, we can run Jupyter notebook. So we can change between different environments in a single place. So that is the advantage of VS Code. So let us start with installation of VS Code. Now in the browser type code.visualstudio.com to reach the official website of Visual Studio Code. Enter. So here you can download the latest version of Visual Studio Code for Windows. Suppose if you are working with Mac operating system or Linux operating system, you can download the appropriate version. Because we are working with Windows version, download the version. So let us wait for the download. So it is 94.3 MB. The download is completed. Now let us see how to install Visual Studio Code. Now let us run this exe installer to install VS Code in our system. Accept the agreement and click on next. See, if you want to change the folder in which you want to store this VS Code, you can change it. Otherwise, you can go with the default location. Okay. Then continue, follow the instructions, and this is very important, add to path. Follow the instructions to install VS Code in our system. So we successfully installed VS Code in our system. So once you click on the finish, it will launch Visual Studio Code. First, let us see how to use Visual Studio Code in terminal mode. So here go to terminal and create a new terminal. And because Python is already installed in our system, simply type Python and press enter. The interactive mode is open. So here you can run Python commands and execute them in a interactive mode. Now let us see how to run Python in the script mode. Of course, for that the Python extension need to be installed in our system. So let us do that. So here in the Explorer, you can open a new folder. Okay. So it is in the desktop. I am having already this programs folder where I can directly open this folder, and I selected this particular folder, and you can say trust the authors of the files in the parent folder desktop. Okay. So you trust the authors, right? Now here you can create new file from here, or you can start creating a new file here. So let us create a new file, okay, here, and just name it as say first.py. Now you can write our first program, print hello world. Now here it already gives you the recommendations, like Python extension to be installed, because this Python extension is not installed, so you cannot run directly. So first we need to install this Python extension. So you can directly install it, or from this extensions also you can type Python and you can install the extensions. So it will give you the required recommendations always. So it is installing Python in your VS Code. You have to wait for the installation. So the installation is complete. There is one more interesting extension which I suggest, that is Code Runner. Please install Code Runner also. Okay, it is useful for running your Python code directly instead of saving it and using the terminal window. You have to run that. Okay, Here what happens directly, if you save this particular file, you can save Control S, you can say, and in the terminal window you can say Python first.py. So automatically the program is executed. But by using code runner, instead of doing this, directly you can run this here. So directly by using this simple arrow kind of mark, you can run the code there. This is the simple way where you can write the code and you can run the code. You don't have to save and go to terminal and write python dot first dot py. Directly you can run the code. This is the second way. Now the third important one is Jupyter notebook. So for that we need to have the Jupyter extension. So go to the extension and enter this Jupyter notebook, because here it has to be installed in your system. So you install this Jupyter notebook. So even Jupyter notebook is installed. Now here there is a special extension for Jupyter notebook, like basics.ipynb. So here select Python interpreter, that you can change. Okay, and you can always say, like you want to run this within this system natively, so you can just say Python within the system you are entering it, you are not trying to open the browser. So here we are having different cells in this Jupyter notebook, like you can convert into markdown cell or a code cell. So in the markdown, when you say, what happens here, you can write the information notes, you can write your Python notes here, whereas here in the code cell you can execute the Python code directly. You can write, okay, it is asking you to enter this particular python.ext. So you can just continue with the recommendations, so that it will do the necessary installations. So automatically the code runs. Okay, so it supports directly, the VS Code will support for all the extensions. Suppose if any extension is not installed, then it directly give you the recommendations, directly download or install those extensions, so that you can use your VS Code in all the different environments. You can use it as a terminal window to run Python in the interactive mode. You can use it in the script mode. You can write the Python code with .py extensions, or you can create wonderful notes for Python in this Jupyter notebooks. Natively in the system, you can create your Jupyter notebook. So that is the advantage of VS Code. Of course, if you want, you can directly go to your Python IDLE. There is a Python IDLE. So here also we have directly the interactive mode opens. Here you can open the new file where you can type it, you can save it, and here you can run it. For example, you can save this with .py extension. So the same file, yes. So what happens, you can write this code, print hello world, and you can save and you can run here. Okay, of course you typed wrongly, so obviously the whatever you typed, the same thing will be printed here. So for basic level, you can simply use this IDLE for learning Python, or you can use Visual Studio Code for little advanced projects. Okay, so for this course I will be using mostly VS Code. If you are interested, you can also use IDLE, my dear friends. So let us start exploring Python now.